Here we go. What's up, profitable stylists? We are coming at you this week, continuing from last week's topic about hair color, semi, demi, permanent color. What are those differences? This week, we're going to be doing bleach. What's up, profitable stylists versus bleach, and then what we're going to be doing continuing from last week's topic about hair color. Before we get into that, I want to make an announcement because we've been getting some feedback. We've been getting some questions. We have the 5 technique extensions training, okay? And people have been asking about what are those 5 techniques? What's going on? Okay, it's natural flat bonds, it's fusion tape, it's beaded flat wefts, it's individual beaded strands, and extended wear beaded toppers. Those are the 5 different techniques. We're going to be teaching all of that in one day. It starts in the morning, we go through the afternoon, right? Now, some people have been saying that, oh, I'm already doing some of those techniques. I don't want to learn it. I want to only learn 1 of the 5 or 3 of the 5 or 4 of the 5, whatever it is, right? That's fine. We're just giving you an opportunity to learn all 5 techniques. If you don't want to refresh on some of the ones that you already know and you only want to focus on the new things that you want to learn, we'll customize that for you. Reach out to us, let us know, and we'll go from there. What's your thought on that,
Bernard?
I
did. I just did a 5 techniques class this last Monday and Tuesday, so I did a 5+1. We did 6 techniques. You know, I do hair replacement, so I also taught that on the second day. So I would say some of the people in my class had some of the other techniques under their belt. So I went a step further, and what I did was, it was the first time I organized it this way, so I wasn't sure how it was going to work. It went really well. I'm still looking for ways to perfect it. But what we did was, instead of just thinking about it like, oh, I already know 1, I only need these 4, I did it in a way where I showed a way to use all 5 techniques on one head. Not that you ever would, but very often you can use 2 or 3 techniques because the beaded topper that we teach, it has 12-inch long hair. But a lot of times the client wants 16, 18, or 20-inch long hair. And so what we did is I explained to them, I had a table full of hair, so it was really creative and fun. And I said, we're going to learn all the beaded techniques before lunch and then the warm fusion techniques after lunch. And so what we did was I said, look, I got a few different beaded toppers on the table. The mannequins are all brown. You can put a brown or a blonde beaded topper on if you want. We'll learn the technique as we put it on. But let me tell you the whole story so that you can design it like you want. But we're going to put a beaded topper on, a weft underneath that, and then a few beaded strands, maybe on the sides or wherever. Highlights, lowlights, thicken the sides a little bit more, because very often we do mix 2 or 3 of those techniques. And then we either go to lunch, depending on how fast or slow they were, or we take it all out of the head to learn removal and then go to lunch is what we did. And then we came back, heated up the little flat iron and the heated tool for the keratin bonds. And we put those natural keratin bonds in on the head and learned how to do the tape in, learned how to remove keratin bonds, natural keratin bonds, and then learned how to remove the tape and re-adhere the tape, and we put a few more in so they could learn how to take them out and put them right back in. That was a lot of fun. Hey, listen, my office manager's daughter was sick this week and stayed home and said, did they ever do shout-outs? Shout out to Kendall. She's homesick, and she thinks we're famous. Some people say we are, Eddie. So, Kendall, shout out to you. Get well. Go back to school.
Get well soon, Kendall.
What's that?
Get well soon. Do your homework. Stop watching us. Get off of YouTube.
Right. So let's talk about bleach. Olaplex. Let me ask you this thing about Olaplex. Is Olaplex the first of its kind?
Olaplex is the first of its kind to patent the bond building technology that they use to repair, reinforce, protect, and fix the hair. Okay. They are also the first of their kind to popularize the entire bond building category. So much so that to this day, I was teaching a hair color class yesterday, And we start talking about Bleach. We start talking about Lightener in the class yesterday. And then I start saying, you know, you got bond builders and this is what bond builders do. And I keep saying bond builders, right? I'm not saying any specific name brands. Well,
right.
I'm starting to get all these confused looks in the class. And I'm like, well, what's the matter? They're like, we have a question. What's a bond builder? I'm like, what do you mean what's a bond builder? Like, are you talking about Olaplex? So
I was going to say, most hairdressers have no idea what Olaplex does. They just know they need to add it to everything to make their everything work better, feel better, look better.
That's the amazing
what
thing,
a good
though.
job.
It's
what
like,
a good job in their marketing.
No, it's great. That's an amazing thing. Look, you don't say, let me go look something up on the internet. You say,
Google it.
Let the Google knows, right? Let's Google it, right? Olaplex has hit that level that they are the category more than the category itself, right? And good for them because.
Well, tell me why you hairdressers. I'm a hairdresser too, but I identify as a business owner more so than a hairstylist.
Stupid.
And I know stylists hate the word bleach. I know some of them hate the word roots. They want to talk about a different word for the hair right at the scalp. The roots are under the skin. You know, we go through these phases where people want to hate a word and love a word. And why do hairdressers hate the word bleach so much? Why do we have to call it a lightener? And is that the only word we're supposed to call it? Or is there some other proper term?
No, so it's all in the language, right? And we'll bookmark Olaplex for a second because we're going to have to talk about bond building because we're talking about bleaches today.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to keep everything surface. I'm not going to try to go too deep into everything, right? Because it's alive and we don't have 3 hours to go through everything.
Right.
Language is important. Definitions are important. When we get behind the chair, everything goes out the window. We just start doing all kinds of creative stuff and everybody's doing and making up their own things. So a lightener. Okay, before lighteners, there was only bleach once upon a time. Fair? Bleaches are aggressive. They're a compound that's designed to make the pH balance of the hair extremely alkaline, raise the pH level of the hair high, so that this way the developer, the peroxide, can get in there, diffuse that natural melanin, break everything up, tear it all apart. The bleach further breaks down some of the peptide bonds in the hair. You know, you got your sulfate, or excuse me, your disulfate, your salt, and your hydrogen bonds, right? It starts tearing everything up. It's very aggressive, but that's all we had. And you're lifting 7 levels, up to 7 levels, give or take, depending on texture, density, and porosity, and what you're doing and all that stuff. Okay, so we needed safer alternatives. And we came up with lighteners. Now, the reason why lighteners were created originally was some people don't have dark hair. They're not as dark as me, right? I need bleach. Right. My hair is way too dark. Your hair, for example, naturally is a little bit lighter. So I could potentially use a lightener, which is more gentle. It's not as aggressive, and it's not designed to break through pre-colored hair. It's designed more for natural hair, right? So if, like I color my hair. We were discussing that last week. I color my hair. So will a lightener break through my hair? Yeah, it will. Will it give me platinum blonde? It's going to take some work, right? Bleach.
It'd be a pretty orange.
I'm going to look like a tangerine. Yeah, sure. Then you need toners and stuff like that. You know, it's all fun. Bleach, it was designed for, breaking through colored hair and natural hair and everything hair, right? So there really is a difference. And I remember months back, you used to always make fun of me, and I've been telling you for months and months and months, one of these days we're going to talk about lightener and bleach because there is a difference. You never believed me.
No, I didn't. I'm still not sure.
And then
maybe by the end of this video. How do I know the difference?
And then when it comes to mixing ratios,
like if I wanted to order one over the other, how would I know that I'm getting, if I was gonna take somebody from really dark or try to knock out some box color and get them lighter so I can make them this popular platinum blonde, I probably need bleach. And where am I going to get that as opposed to a lightener?
So depending on the color line that you use, most of depending on which color line you use, most color lines have a specific lightener that goes along with their system, with their permanent and demi-permanent color.
Right.
And some of them have bleach, some of them have both options. It comes down, it's not that one is better than the other. It's situational. And if Jess is out there listening to this, she keeps making fun of me for using that word. She's one of the stylists that comes to a lot of our classes. Situational in hair color, it's like what you and I were talking about last week. There's 4 different ways to do the same thing. Everybody's right. So it kind of depends on creatively what your effect is, what you're trying to do, and
right.
you can achieve similar or almost same results with either one. Everybody has their own mindset.
Does that blue powder we mix in the lightener actually help tone as we lighten?
So right, see, like that's another great example. You got white lightener, you got blue lightener.
I never see a huge difference.
Yeah, you do. You need to change your prescriptions is what you need to do.
Oh, now I see it. So when it first came out, these blue powders, I just remember the sales rep, I won't name the person, she said, this is so much more expensive when you add it to that bleach powder, lightener powder. When you add this, it'll tone it. There was no exact amount. You just add some or a little more or a lot. And I just see my hairdressers sprinkling a little because they think they need a little tone, or they're pouring a whole lot because they think they need a lot. And I heard hairdressers say that doesn't really affect change in the bleaching up. It's more of a marketing thing. People are adding these blue powder, and maybe in the beginning it was more marketing, and maybe it works better now. Things change, but I don't know. As an older hairdresser doing everything this one way, I was super skeptical about things that would come in and change, like clear color last week. I was a little skeptical of that. I'm a little skeptical of calling a bleach a lightener. I just thought it was a different name. And so then when I see the blue powder come along, I'm like, does this really do anything? Is it really affecting the change of the lightening and should I be trying to control the tone as I'm lightening, or just tone it after?
Again, it's situational. You should do both.
Should I use the blue stuff?
What use the blue?
No?
Here's something funny. Yeah, 20 years ago, we used to make up all kinds of stuff. We were trying to, technology always improves, and we always learn things as time goes on, right? I remember making confirmation phone calls in the salon, and it used to go exactly like this. Madam, I'm calling to confirm your appointment for tomorrow with your colorist, and we just want to remind you, don't smoke cigarette tonight. Don't wash your hair, don't have sex, don't drink coffee tonight, and also in the morning as well before you come. And some people would say, oh my God, thank you so much. I have an excuse for tonight. And some people would say, you better have a pot of coffee ready in the morning, We were convinced any stimulation, any increase in blood flow would make you more sensitive. So if we were doing double process, you would get more reactions. You would itch, or it would burn, or it would hurt. So we would try to alleviate all of those things, and then I'd be running.
That's funny. We never warned people, but now that you say that, it reminds me of all the crazy stuff that hairdressers. We should do a whole video on this. All the crazy stuff hairdressers blame their mistakes on. The rain, PMS, all kinds of weather things. The air conditioning, the humidity. Oh, you're pregnant. Color never works when you're pregnant. Then why did you even try? But God, that's a whole nother hairdressers, huh? We will come up with some excuses. I just screwed up. Yeah,
we are creative animals. So that's what it is.
Actually warned people,
right? So now we used to put some blue accent or some violet accent into our lightener, and we'd mix that up in there, or we'd go take Sweet and Low and put that in our lighteners or in our bleaches.
Sweet and Low, right? Does anybody please put it in the comments? Where did Sweet and Low start? Like, what hairdresser had a spouse that was a scientist that said, honey, if you just add Sweet and Low to your bleach, it wouldn't burn your client's scalp? How did they find that out? It actually works. Now you're going to have hairdressers across America that have never heard of this before going to be like, wait, what? How much Sweet and Low? Who knows? It doesn't say on the directions to do it, but I mean, and I'm not recommending it at all, but my stylists have done it. Put a pack of Sweet and Low in the mixture, and the clients that burn before don't burn. What chemical? You don't need to go into deep detail if you do know the answer to that, but that's some crazy stuff.
Do you want to know the answer, or you don't care?
If it's quick.
It's quick.
Yes.
Witchcraft.
I think everybody. What is it? What chemical?
So Sweet and Low, the active ingredient, or the active ingredient, the main ingredient of Sweet and Low is I can't say it correctly. Saccharin.
Saccharin.
It's a natural soother. That's why it works.
Natural soother.
Yeah.
I see you put on our list here. Before I get too far along, I don't know if this list is in some kind of order. Clay. Are we talking about like the bleaches that kind of stay in place?
Yeah.
It's supposed to not bleach the hairs next to it.
Yeah. Moving through time. Now companies start developing for us white bleach, white lightener, blue lightener, right? And so clay came afterwards because back then we were foiling all the time. We were doing some freehanding, but it wasn't really like that was the original balayage. It's not what it is now. It's so far removed from what its original purpose was.
Right.
But as it goes, the difference between white and blue powder, okay, is a rhetorical question. If you are the type of the colorist that you want to highlight the hair, and then you want to tone it afterwards yourself, you want to expose all that contributing pigment, and you want to handle it afterwards by yourself, use the white lightener, not a problem. If you are doing creatively a red, a warm, something copper, something purple, right? Then use the white lightener, expose that contributing pigment. That'll serve as a base for your toner to help hold that in. Now, the blue is the opposite. If you're the type of colorist that you want to highlight the hair and you just want to be done, I want to lift it up to this and be done.
It's me.
Blue is the way to go. It makes a difference. If you're trying to do something platinum, then use the blue. It'll alleviate as much of the contributing pigment as much as possible, and it just makes your toning process at the end that much easier, okay? Now, when we start getting to mixing ratios, there's always a lot of argument about mixing ratios. Everybody pancakes this thing. They just start eyeballing. Nobody measures their lighteners. Nobody measures their bleaches, right? A little scoop of this, squeeze a little more, start whipping it up. See if it starts dripping. It's not dripping. Mix up a little, squeeze a little bit more developer, start mixing a little bit more,
What's wrong with that?
It's inconsistent. It's not calibrated. You don't know what is happening.
You think we should be consistent?
Well, I mean,
okay.
Maybe.
Right. So that our client's hair comes out the same every single time.
Remember that comment right there when we make the video about hairdresser goofs and what we blame it on? I want you to remember that comment.
Inconsistency. Right. No, I get it. I mean, hairdressers, not enough of them put notes in the computer either. What you did last time and what came out good or bad or could be tweaked a little so that you can move in the correct direction in the future. I can't say that enough. People are like, oh, I'm going to remember. I'm too busy. I'll never find the note. Don't put it on paper. Put it in the computer, because most of us are using computers these days. Under their notes, what you did last time and what you should do to change it a little, and move in a positive direction in the future instead of any direction in the future. No, I agree. Consistency.
The other important thing about mixing ratios is that if you're not, and a mixing ratio generally is either equal parts, or the general rule of thumb is 1 part lightener, bleach, 2 parts developer. Okay. So if you used 1 ounce of bleach or if you used 1 ounce of lightener, you would use 2 ounces of developer for it. Okay.
Right.
So that's the general rule of thumb.
How does the clay come into this?
So now what happened was, because we are creative animals and we don't measure anything, and we start coming up with all kinds of crazy ideas on how to do things, it starts to expand over time. And then that starts bleeding into the hair, touching the hair next to that one. Now you start ending up with demarcation, and you start ending up with zebra stripes and stuff like that, right? So you start mixing.
Trying to say zebra. I was just translating for you. Zebra stripes, almost like what's behind me.
I have to do this thing with my throat to make it right. Zebra. So
with your zebra.
So now you goofed me. What was I saying? Oh, so when we start mixing equal parts, it starts making the consistency thicker, but it dries out too fast. And then you start popping people under the dryer, and you start coming up with all kinds of creative ways to thin that out a little bit more, right? And it starts bleeding all over the place anyways. So they came up with clay to retain the moisture, to have it be thicker. So when you place it, especially in freehanding, especially if somebody's got long hair, so this way it's not shifting all over the place. You'd have a little bit more control over everything. Okay. The thing what ended up happening was.
Does it work good? I've never used clay. It kind of came out after I stepped out from behind the chair.
That's my favorite question. Does it work good? I love it when somebody comes into the office and they say, "Oh, that color line that you guys have."
Do you like it?
What's that?
In your opinion, do you like to work with the clay lightener?
I've used clay. Yeah, I mean, again, depends
it's
on
situational.
It's situational. It depends on your client. It depends on your consult. What is the look you're trying to achieve, right?
Who's it best on? Like what are what's the right scenario to use clay? Thick hair, thin hair?
Little
bit of lift, lot of lift.
It's your skill set. It's your comfort level. 100%. Okay. You can do the same exact thing with clay that you can do with lightener, that you can do with bleach. You can mix all 3 of them the same exact way they're supposed to be mixed by the manufacturer's direction. You can make up your own thing out of your, I caught myself, out of your butt.
This is your head.
Right? Out of your head and mix it up whichever way you want to do it. And you can, if you are confident and you have a plan with the technique that you're going to use
with the product.
Yeah. You can create everything.
What? This might be a good place to insert that. A lot of people say, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm never going to do it. I've always been an advocate. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing hair. Till this day, you've said it on enough of these lives that you still have mannequins in the house that you practice on.
Every week.
Forget mannequins. We just put an ad on Facebook last week, and I'm teaching a new girl how to do some techniques. So we put an ad out there. You'd be surprised at how many people don't care what happens to their hair. And they're game for free trial, anything. They'll even say it doesn't even matter, just color it all black if it doesn't work out. So don't be scared to put an ad on Facebook and say, hey, put a picture. I want to learn how to do this. This is how, when that real white platinum came out, one of my hairdressers kept wanting to do it. Clients would ask, and I'd say, don't say yes. You've never done it. Don't try to do something you've never done before and charge for it and then get us bad reviews. You'll hate yourself. You'll be spending 3 days trying to fix it. Put an ad on Facebook saying this is something I want to get good at. I need a model to practice on. And let them know it might not turn out like that, but this is the goal. And so she did it a couple of times, did a great job. It looked good. Now she charges to do it. But those customers come in, I'm a part of that consultation, and we just set some real expectations. We are going to, first of all, I look at them if they have black hair like you, I'd right then say it's not going to happen. We're not going to get white today. So let's be real. We need a different model. So sometimes we would say send pictures through Messenger, and we'll pre-qualify you first. And so then we get the right model, somewhere in the medium brown to blonde color already. We go on with it, try to turn them white, and it happens, and style them and use the before and after pictures and advertise and say, we got it. Now we're looking for paying customers. And so don't hesitate to practice, like you're saying. You've never used clay before. I've never used clay. I would
Okay.
not just do it all the time. And I don't think I'd be happy with just practicing. I want to see it on a person with fine hair, a real person with more thicker, coarser hair, and see the difference of how it comes out before I started to charge. Bleed, how it bleeds, if it bleeds. That would be of practicing. What do you think?
It's the nice thing about practicing first on the mannequin is that you can gauge your limits. You can gauge your boundaries. You can see, I pushed it too far. The hair melted off the mannequin head. Okay, don't do that.
Right.
I did this on the mannequin and it didn't do anything. Okay, I need to go back and look at the directions, revisit my education, push it harder. It's a confidence builder, right? Then you get to the live person and you get the model, you do them for free. You know, in the beginning, there's people that are game to try anything, they're willing. Okay, then you push it on them and then you break their hair, you condition it and fix it back again. Or you decide on an expectation, you don't meet that expectation, you're like, oh, now I have measurable results to work off of. Now I can learn. And the best way to get good is to goof. You have to make mistake. You have to mess up to learn.
Yeah.
Is the best way to learn something. So now you got your mixing ratios, you got your techniques, you got your consultation, you got your three, bleach, lightener, clay. You got your three different types of products that you can use, white, blue, either way. Okay. Now people start getting nervous because damage is real. It can happen. We are doing controlled damage when we
put Olaplex in, and then we don't have to worry about damage.
But so this is where additives and bond builders became so
and oil.
popularized.
I saw you put oil on the list. Is a bond builder an oil?
It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. So additives. So there's two categories in my opinion. Additives and bond builders are, in my opinion, are two separate categories.
Okay.
You've got things like oils that have essential fatty acids in them. That helps to protect the elasticity of the hair. During the lightening process, you're attacking the three main bonds in the hair. You've got your sulfate, your disulfate bond, your salt bonds, your hydrogen bonds, right? And a lot of people don't really understand this. Well, your salt bonds is like the third of the strength of your hair. And it's the most fragile out of all three.
Salt bond?
Washing can break your salt bonds in your hair. A little adjustment in pH balance can mess up the salt bonds in your hair. The hydrogen bonds, as its name states, that's retaining all of your moisture, okay? The disulfate bond in your hair is the core, it's the strongest one out of everything. That's like when we do keratin smoothing treatments or when we do perms, when we do relaxers. Well, I correct myself. Keratin smoothing treatments are not supposed to break the disulfide bonds of the hair. Perms, relaxers, we are breaking those bonds. We are reforming that hair into a new shape, whether it's a curl around the perm rod or flattening it out with the flat iron during a relaxer.
Right.
And then we're neutralizing it back into place. We're freezing it back into the new shape. Okay. So when we're bleaching, when we're lightening, we're not really breaking that bond. So we are beating it up, but we're not really. If you're breaking that bond, you got problems. You did something way too aggressive. So
that's why perms and relaxers are a little bit more aggressive or damaging than bleach or color.
Than bleach and color, exactly. So now we start putting oils. We start putting things like Lightener Control, for example, is another product that'll help retain the moisture during the lightening process, right? And those are additives. Those are really nice. They work really, really well. Then you got bond builders, okay? Brazilian has a bond builder. Truplex has a bond builder. Olaplex is the most commonly known named bond builder, right?
Wella, I think Wella has Wellaplex. Is that right? I don't know.
Everybody has one. Now, the reason why they have become popularized is because there's this other rule of thought. There's this stigma, this really weird stigma. In hair color, we understand that developer 10, 20, 30, 40 volume get, up to 1 level, 2 level, 3 level, 4 levels. Okay, fine, right? And then it stops working after a certain amount of processing time. Your window of alkalinity dies after 18 minutes. Your oxidation is over after 30, 40 minutes. The color doesn't do anything anymore. But when it comes to lightening, when it comes to bleaching, the longer you leave that sucker on, and if you don't let the bleach or the lightener dry out completely, like you could literally open a foil and mist it with some water and reactivate.
Keep on working.
And it just keeps going and going and going. And this is where breakage becomes. So what people don't understand is 10 minutes with 40 volume bleach is the equivalent of 20 volume bleach with 30 minutes processing. It's the same amount of damage,
That's what I say. Yeah.
It just depends on your timing. It depends on your formula. It depends on your mixture. So when you're adding these bond builders into your lighteners or into your bleaches, the idea is as the alkaline is rising, as the pH is rising in your hair from the powder complex, it starts raising that starts swelling, opening the cuticle. The peroxide starts getting in there and it starts tearing everything apart while it's diffusing the natural
melanin. In a good way, right?
In a good way.
Well, right.
But see, here's the thing, Bernard. It's not in a good way. Let's say it as it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in a good way. That's why bond builders are important. Because while the peroxide is beating the crap out of, it's like my younger brother, right? I used to beat the crap out of him when he was little. That was bad. But then I'd have my sister there to kind of make him feel good right away afterwards. So my sister was the bond builder to help my brother feel good again. So an hour later I could beat him up again.
Right.
So that's where it is. Now, the amazing thing and the confusion, what's happened is twofold. It's given people false bravado and false confidence that if I just put bond builder, automatically nothing is going to go wrong. And I can start using 40 volume again, because for a long time, that's that stigma. Everybody was scared to use 30 or 40 volume, With bleaches and with lightener, well, no, it depends on the level of the hair.
Right.
You got to hit me with 30, 40 volume. There's no way in this God's green earth I'm going to sit with 10, 20 volume. I'll be there for 5 hours, if not longer.
Right.
But somebody like you, I hit you with 40 volume, you're going to look white as a piece of paper. You're going to be platinum,
Much quicker.
Much quicker.
So I always felt like oils, additives, bond builders, to me, it was adding something to the formula. Mm-hmm. So to me, I was always afraid it was watering down, making whatever I'm using a little less potent.
So,
or creating like oil. I think of hair extensions like I can't have any barriers in there. My adhesive needs to stick really good. If I'm going in with color, how can I have oil in the middle? It's gonna slow penetration down, and maybe that's where this healthier hair comes from, because the product's not working as good. See, I never did believe or understand that it's doing something on a chemical level rather than just slowing my product or my processing down.
It's what we refer to as the viscosity of the product. Okay. You've got your levels.
Thick or thin. Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then that dictates the potency of your product, how strong it's going to work, or how well it's going to develop.
Okay.
So and we've all seen, we all understand the scales of the cuticle. We've seen all the commercials and everything, right?
Right.
Some of your hair strand, if you think of a full hair strand and you got your new growth, you got your new growth, you got your mid shaft, you got the ends, okay? If you think about it in that way, and you think about how the hair shaft gets compacted over time due to stress, damage, environmental, product, it's things like that, right? We're trying to achieve a consistent result all the way through. But the porosity from the new growth all the way through the ends is going to be different. It's going to vary.
Right.
So don't think so much about it as it's weakening your formula and it's not going to work as well. Think of it as more as, would you rather look like a striped, bunch of bands, weird bands going through the hair, or would you rather have a gradient, an even result? Right?
And you think that's what these products do?
Oh, absolutely.
Evens out the porosity.
The idea is to retain the porosity, to retain the balance of those salt bonds, those hydrogen bonds. Yeah, the disulfide bond a little bit as well too. Yeah, sure.
You should always use Olaplex or something similar when you do color or bleach or lightener. Why would you not always? You might as well always use it, right?
It's an option. It's a valid option, sure, right? If you have healthy hair.
Is there a downside?
No. I mean, look, if you have a healthy hair, it's going to stay healthy.
Right. So that's why people just use it all the time now.
If it's damaged, it's going to help repair it while you're coloring it simultaneously, right?
Right.
15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, not that long ago, we used to do a deep conditioner service after every single hair color, especially after every single highlight. It was just a thing. You were going to get it done. There was no two ways about it. That kind of dropped off over time. Now, people don't do too many deep conditioning services anymore.
True.
But now, with the current trends and the current fashions,
gloss instead.
They do the gloss or the glazing, right? But with current fashions and current trends, they're so insane right now that we are causing so much damage. People are messing their hair up, especially people got this how you call do it yourself DIY.
DIY.
Right? People are turning themselves into tossed salads at home.
Oh, right, because they want to go, and they want to change with the seasons a little too often. They want to black to blonde to red to black to blonde to red all within 2 or 3 years.
And then they're going into their fridge and they're using all these freaking food dinner stuff to they're using lemon juice and they're using papaya and they're using I don't know all this insane.
Let me ask you a real practical question, and we'll kind of end with this one. This is an opinion of mine, and I want to get your opinion on this. You put bleach on somebody's head. Let's just say you use 20-30 volume, and you're trying to take some medium to darker brown hair up as light as you possibly can. I think a lot of hairdressers get real nervous at the 30, 45-minute mark. It's not quite where you want it. You look at it. It always looks whiter than it should. You got to wipe off a little, and you're like, oh, man, that's more yellow than I thought because the actual product's making it look a little whiter. You wipe a little off, and it's a little gold. At this time, I know it's situational, and it depends on your experience, but
then your computer froze because your internet on your little iPhone always freezes every week.
I'm not using the iPhone. Can you hear me? Am I frozen?
You locked up a little bit, but I think what you were trying to say.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Yeah.
Because I'm hardwired in on the computer. There's no iPhone going on here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I wanted to, so you're at like 30, 45 minutes of processing. A lot of people get nervous that it's going to start to damage. And so then you got a couple of choices, a lot of choices, but a couple of the big choices are wash it all out, dry it, reapply, or wait longer. And I'm always of the opinion, keep on waiting. First of all, because you save the time of shampooing and blow drying and taking any natural protection like scalp oils, sweat, skin buildup that's on the scalp, kind of protects them from feeling the burn on the scalp. Because once you rinse it all off and shampoo it and dry it, and maybe a brush going, all that manipulation is going to cause their scalp to be more sensitive for one thing. And then the second application is going to be real strong and act real fast and maybe too much. And to me, it's a much safer zone towards the end of the processing of whatever bleach or lightener you're using, because it's working slower now, but it is still working. And so to me, I feel like it's safer because it's a slower, I can keep watching it. And if I go to an hour, hour and 15, hour and a half, that last 30 minutes of an hour and a half is way less damaging than reapplying for another 30 or 45 minutes. Do you have an opinion about all of that?
Yeah, you're saying a couple of different things. Everything you're saying is correct. You're saying, but why? Why is it correct? This is why. This is where the confusion comes.
Yep.
Lightening
and there's no
hair.
wrong, but there's opinions, and I'm curious about yours.
Yeah, lightening hair, you have to evaluate texture, density, porosity. You have to evaluate those three things. You have to see, is the hair straight, wavy, or curly? Because the shape of that hair shaft is going to react differently. Straight hair is going to lighten faster than curly hair. Okay? The density. If somebody doesn't have a lot of hair, you got to keep an eye on that thing. Okay? If somebody's got a lot of hair, you still got to keep an eye on that thing. It's going to take forever. But if somebody doesn't have a lot of hair, it's going to come up quick.
Go fast. And finer hair is going to come up quicker.
Finer hair. Now you got porosity. Porosity is the number one son of a... I hate live, Bernard. We got to have the after hours so I can cuss. So porosity is the worst of the three. If you pre-cleanse, pre-clarify the hair before you do a coloring process or a lightening process, you can kind of get a better read on how that hair is feeling, if it's damaged, if it's healthy, what it is, okay? Now, you put your lightener on there, you put your bleach on there, you hit that 30-minute mark, and you start rubbing it out to take a look at it. You're looking at two different things. The first thing you're looking at, well, everybody is looking, how much did it lift?
Right, first.
The first. The second thing, what you should also be looking at is how much moisture, how is your lightener, is your mixture still moist, or did it start drying out?
Right, because it's not working dry.
It's because you're right. The more the life cycle of lightening, of bleaching, is due to the retention of moisture in that mix, and after 30 minutes, it starts drying out because it's oxidized, if you will, as much as it can, right?
Right.
Now, so some people reapply, or like you said, you take them down and then you do a new application, or some people spray a little mist, a little water, or some people reapply fresh formula over the old formula. This is another example of where an additive or a bond builder would help retain the moisture. It would prevent it from drying out so quickly. It will retain the moisture so you can continually work more consistently, more evenly throughout the timing.
So would you be applying when you say a bond builder? Like, is this when you would apply Olaplex, or just because it was already in there, it would retain the moisture?
No, so it's right up front. You'd have your initial mix. You'd add your Olaplex, for example, into your mix, right?
Right.
I mean, and all of these, look, you got to follow directions, yeah? Olaplex is a whole system. All of these bond builders are a system. You got to do the prep.
Right.
You got to add the product to your
sweet and low, right?
For formula, your sweet and low to your formula, and then you gotta do your application. After your application, you got to take it down, and then you have to finish it afterwards as well too. But this is the difference. What I do is I up front make sure that I prepare my bleach for success. I make sure that I think, okay, I need to lift five levels. I need to lift 3 levels. Whatever amount of levels I need to lift, I need to prepare my product to retain that moisture throughout the entire time. Not the first 10 minutes I'm getting a lot, and then the next 10 minutes it's leveling off, then the next 10 minutes it's dying, and then I got to come back up again. That's why people start putting stuff under the dryer. They start putting things under the lamps, and that starts introducing a whole nother a whole nother thing, you know? So that's the difference. It's not wrong to remove the foil and then reapply a new foil. It's also not wrong to add your bond builder or your additive or whatever throughout the process. It's also not wrong to reactivate that existing product that's already on there. So everything is the correct way to do it. Personally,
I didn't realize just water would help reactivate. I would have thought it would water it down, but I guess you're right.
I'm talking about moisture. Like one spray. I'm not saying
not washing it
with
off.
A hose.
Right.
Yeah. Again, it's just a little bit of moisture. It's just to reactivate a little bit. That's all. At my personal opinion is consultation, expectation,
What do you do more often, though? Do you let it continue to process a little longer to get there, or do you
Yeah.
find yourself taking it out
No,
and
I don't
adding?
use heat. I don't prefer
No,
using heat.
not the heat. Would you take it out and reapply bleach or lightener?
Oh, if you have to, yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will reapply over my existing product.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Just,
I don't have an assistant. So I
do
got to do
you
everything myself when I'm behind the chair.
and do you use 20 volume most of the time with your lighteners and bleaches?
Oh, I'm a 40 volume baby. Oh, 40
Me
volume all day.
too.
I,
Yeah,
I
me
would do
too.
shots of 40 volume if I could. I love 40 volume. And especially blue 40 volume. There's blue based 40 volume developers now.
But you can't do. You got to be careful. Like you can't do a whole full head of baby lights all the way up the back, all the way up the sides, all across the top with 40 volume and
Why?
expect to get to the. Well, let me finish the sentence.
You want to fight?
You can't expect to do the whole head of 40 volume and get all the way to the end and expect this, if that was your last foil or this foil, to process the same as that very first foil you might have started way down in the bottom in the back.
The
'Cause
word
you're not
of the
gonna-
day is witchcraft.
So you either have to start with 20 and then go to 30, then to 40, or when you get halfway done, you're going to have to rinse those out before, or get to the end, and then maybe you're rinsing this out when it gets there, and then waiting for this. Is that what you do?
So earlier I mentioned texture, density, and porosity. And then I said porosity is the number one out of all three, right? Okay. If generally most people are more porous on the top and on the hair around the hairline.
Okay.
Generally.
Okay.
And if you do this correctly, and what you just said is correct as well too. Again, there is no wrong answer here so far.
Tell us your way. Tell us your way.
I start in the back in that scenario. In that scenario, I just want to be done. I don't want to do a whole to do out of it, right?
Right.
I go mix up my 40 volume.
Time is money.
Time is money, right? I go mix up my 40 volume. I get back over to, I have everything prepped first. I got my foil separated. I got my clips. I got the hair sectioned off. Everything is ready to go.
Right.
I go add my powder. I put my developer. And then I start mixing as I'm walking out of the back room to the chair. I finish mixing right then and there. And I start applying and applying and applying. And I start in that back and I work my way up and I work my way up and I come up the sides. And then I get the top and the front done. And I am going to town. I am not stopping to look and see what somebody else is doing next chair over. I'm not checking my phone.
But still, it takes at least 10, maybe 20 or 30 minutes.
So what? The hair in the back of your head is darker than the hair on the top of your head. The porosity in the back of your head is more resistant than the porosity on the top of your head because this is healthier hair. This is more damaged hair. This is going to grab faster. This is going to grab. It's going to take longer for this to grab. In those scenarios, yeah.
So most of the time you are shampooing it all out at the same time.
And then I shampoo it all out at the same time. God forbid this got a little light back there. Most of the time, this doesn't get light enough back there. See?
Okay.
Now, do I do that on every single person? No. Sometimes, sure.
Good.
I'll do
That's a good
40
analogy,
and 20.
though. And that's going to be your length down at the bottom, which should be or could be a little lighter, ombre-ish, color melt. And I think it'd be okay in any situation to be a little lighter underneath, especially if it's layered, because a little lighter towards the ends is going to look great.
Most people don't tone after highlighting. See, I always complete my service. Even if I do, and we talked about this last week, clear.
Do you tone? Do you tone after?
Even if I don't use a hair color, I'll use clear, and I'll tone with clear. I will complete the service, man. Okay? When I come down to New Orleans, I'm going to show you.
I'm going to put a clear on here real quick. Watch. Dude, isn't that so much? Look how much better we look. And I'm going to show you. If I take the clear off, see, there's the difference. Y'all see the difference? I'm just going to put the clear over me.
We're gonna do a live together. I'm gonna come visit you. We're gonna do a live together, and you're gonna do a clear. I'm gonna show you.
Oh my goodness! Can we do clear on just half of somebody's head so I can see
So this side will be shiny, and this side is dull.
Right, that's what you say. Right. So I don't know. I know a lot of people. I brought it up this weekend in my class, and half the class was like, "I don't see a difference. I agree with you," and the other half were like, "Oh no, it definitely." So I mean, obviously, people see it, think it makes a difference. I don't want to go. That's so polarizing, huh? It's clear. I see right through it. Oh, shiny? That's a different story. Clear? I don't get it. We need to end. This has been almost an hour.
Because from
It's been
this
a lot
now
of
we're going to
fun.
start getting extremely deep technical, and I promised I won't go too deep.
I know. It's hard not to, though. It's hard not
It
to.
really is, especially because there's so many variables and nuances and things to this, and I absolutely love talking about this stuff.
It was fun. I know. I like this. I like you doing more of the talking and me learning.
All right, guys. Thank you for your comments. I hope I answered your question, Richard, about the bond builder in there. You know, bond builders in general all are going to work similarly. Each one has its nuance. Each product has its uniqueness to it. So definitely check them all out. Do your homework. They're all worth looking at.
Yes.
Yeah. Hit us up
Hang up.
in the comment sections. Let us know what you guys think. I would like to know, do you guys see a difference with clear? If you've used clear, do you like using clear? Or are you Bernard's camp over there and you don't see the difference? Thank you guys for watching, everybody. We'll catch y'all next time.
Bye.